Muted.
All right, we're recording.
Okay, switch to PowerPoint, please. Can you pull up the PowerPoint?
We are having a little bit of, I changed.
There it goes. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday afternoon. Welcome to the first Global SFC and ISMG DFARS and NIST SP 800-171 webinar. I'm James Valeni, and I'm the lead programmer at ISMG.
And I'm Samuel Lichtenfels, the cybersecurity officer from Global SFC Valve. All right, so what we're going to be covering today is we're going to be going over the current DFARS rule. We're going to go over covered defense information, CDI, and then we're going to go over controlled unclassified information, CUI, and the systems that this information is contained in. We're also going to look at the NIST standards and what really they are. We're going to go over incident reporting requirements. Then we're going to go over compliance with this rule, DFARS rule, and then we're going to go over expected future regulatory changes. So we're going to answer these questions today of why we're here. We're going to go over what really is the DFARS 252.204-7012 clause, what really is NIST SP 800-171 document. We're also going to go over how can my business comply with this regulation, and why is this regulation even important?
So with regards to the DFARS 252 clause, this is a clause that's been effective in prime contracts issued through the DoD after October 2016. It states a few requirements, the most important of those being that you must comply, your company must comply with NIST SP 800-171 document. The deadline to implement these requirements is December 31st of this year. And if there are any areas of non-compliance, you must report those areas to the DoD Chief Information Officer for all contracts awarded before October 1st, 2017. And if there are any exceptions or alternative measures, you also have to list those. Additionally, cyber incidents must be reported within 72 hours to both the DoD through this website and the prime contractor or your higher tier contractor. In most people's cases, this would be Global SFC. This is a required inclusion, like we said, in all DoD contracts throughout the supply chain. And that means there's a mandatory flow down to all subcontractor tiers. So for example, the DoD flows that down to the Navy flows it down to shipbuilders flow it down to Global SFC Valve, and then we continue to flow that down all the way down the supply chain.
So focusing on contractor information system, so where the information that needs to be protected under this DFARS clause is unclassified systems owned or operated by or for a contractor and that processes, stores, or transmits covered defense information, CDI, controlled and classified information, CUI, which includes technical information marked with a DoD distribution statement, export control information, or any other information that requires safeguarding or dissemination controls and is A, marked or otherwise identified in the contract and provided by the government, or B, developed, received, transmitted, used, stored, etc. by the contractor in support of the contract. So really, these types of systems, the CDI and CUI systems, are very broad concepts. Now with that, for global SFC, particularly it's our drawings. That is what's classified as CUI, and currently they have a DoD distribution statement, but they do not have the CUI statement. That distribution statement is still identified as CUI, but we're going to do better and ensure that that CUI, marker is visible on the drawings.
Again, one of the most important requirements in this DFARS is the cyber incident reporting requirement. Like I said, you have to report cyber incidents within 72 hours to both the DoD through this website here, dibnet.dod.mil, and through Global SFC Valve. And to report a cyber incident through DibNet, you must first acquire a Department of Defense approved medium assurance certificate from down there, and that lets you upload your information regarding a cyber incident onto their webpage. This reporting requirement is in effect upon award of a contract with the clause. So this is actually in effect currently. So if any businesses were to become compromised, if there was a massive security breach, or even a minor one, if there's any information lost, these cyber incidents need to be reported to both DoD and Global SFC Valve so that all players in the supply chain can be notified. The main reason that cyber incident reporting is important is because the DoD has the right to conduct investigations of incidents. So if and when a cyber incident is reported to the DoD has the right to investigate the incident. Contractors are obligated to preserve and protect images of affected information systems for at least 90 days. The DoD may conduct forensic analysis of these systems, and if the DoD elects to conduct a damage assessment, it may request damage assessment information gathered by the contractor and seek access to information and equipment necessary to conduct forensic analysis. There's a few requirements in the NIST document where you have to store and protect auditing information regarding your information systems, and that's mainly for this, so that in the event of any kind of cyber incident, the DoD has sufficient evidence to use in their investigation.
So compliance with this DFARS clause, it's important to note that the deadline for the NIST SP 800-171 document needs to be completed by December 31st, 2017. Now, there was an extension given in 2016 that extended it to this year, and it is expected that there's going to be no extension for this. So, but it's important to note that implementation of NIST 800-171 means having an information system security plan, an ISSP, and a plan of action and milestones, a POAM, that accurately reflects the status of a contractor's compliance with NIST controls, even if the ISSP and POAM extend beyond the December deadline. So really what this means is that you don't have to have all the controls fully implemented in the NIST document. You just have to have an ISSP created outlining your controls and a POAM, plan of action and milestones, that describes what your process is and what it's going to be to finish implementing all of these controls, even if it goes past that December deadline. So the DoD is permitted to accept contractor proposed alternatives but equally effective controls. And for this, an example would be there's a control for voice over internet protocol technologies, and it requires you put protections and be able to monitor those type of technologies on your network. If you do not use any of these technologies, and instead with your phones, you just use a regular phone line, then this control wouldn't really be applicable to you. So just using the phone lines would be an alternative control. Also look for SP NIST SP 800-171A to be issued within the next year, which will include assessment procedures to help companies determine whether they are in compliance. So that's really going to help you be able to analyze what your plan is and what you're going to be doing to meet those controls.
I think what's also important to say here is that there is no government body, auditing body, that's going to come into your place of business to ensure that you're compliant. December 31st is going to roll around, and really no one's going to know anyone else's compliance status other than, by what you say about your business. So it's really based off the honor system in some regards. That's not to say that the government won't invest in an auditing body at a future date, because that's entirely possible. But as of right now, there really aren't any steps in place to make sure that people are compliant. It's really just based off the honor system. With regards to the NIST SP 800-171 document, many of the controls are just general best security practices. So these benefit you not only for compliance, but just generally for your company's cybersecurity needs. And they outline different things about policy, process, and configuring information systems securely. The document is meant to simplify the requirements set forth by NIST SP 853, which is what the FBI and the CIA and the NSA use to build their information system. So just for some kind of perspective, the NIST SP 853 is about 500 pages long, and the 171 document is about 70 pages long. And along with this reduced length also comes a bit of reduced clarity. Many of the controls in the 171 are very vague, and so it's kind of important to cross-reference the 853 document with the 800-171 document so you know exactly what they're trying to say. These are the different NIST standards that are included in the NIST 800-171 document. So these are the control families. These are basically like chapters of a book. They're containers that hold the other 109 different controls. So you have stuff on here like access control, monitoring and ensuring that only authorized individuals can get into the file systems, identification and authentication, which is like username and password, and even physical protection, which is the actual locks and keys around your place of business. Now what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through each one of these control families and kind of give a broad overview about what it's really asking for your company to do. And we're going to blow through it really quick. So what we're going to encourage is that if anyone has any questions about any specific control or control family, to ask it in the chat. And then when we get to the end, we'll go through all the questions and further clarify exactly what we mean.
Yeah, so as James said, we're going to go over the control family overview, and it's going to answer the question, what do each of the controls families cover? So starting off with access control, it's going to limit the information system's access to only authorized users, separate the duties of individuals to reduce the risk of malevolent collusion. You're also going to want to limit unsuccessful login attempts to reduce the chance of brute force password attacks. You should require encryption and authentication of various devices, including mobile devices. You're going to want to limit the use of external storage, USB, any USB device really, so external hard drives, CDs, etc., to reduce the chance of malicious activity.
For awareness and training, you're going to educate managers, system administrators, and users about the policies, standards, and procedures of your company. Additionally, you're going to want to educate those people about the security risks of their assigned role and the responsibilities that they have to ensure the safety of the company. So maybe there might be a person with special financial information that they need to keep safe. They need to be aware of the responsibilities that come along with that added privilege. And additionally, you need to provide security awareness training on recognizing and reporting potential indicators of insider threat.
So next with auditing and accountability, this is going to be you want to use an automated mechanism to enable the monitoring, analysis, investigation, and reporting of unlawful system activity. It's also going to want to support on-demand analysis and reporting. You're going to want to make internal changes based off the results of your auditing, and you're going to want to ensure that auditing information is protected and accurate.
For configuration management, you're going to want to limit the types of programs that users can install. Most companies will do this by just doing a very blanket, only administrators can install anything on a computer and regular users are locked out of installing. But if you choose to go down that road of allowing regular users, you should control and monitor all user-installed software. Additionally, you should ensure that users only have access to programs and features applicable to their position. So you don't want individuals in the machine shop to have access to important financial information, and vice versa, really. Additionally, you should blacklist non-essential and possibly malicious programs using antivirus software. Most antivirus do this already. And then you also have to develop a baseline configuration to ensure a uniform setup throughout your network.
So next, for identification and authentication, you're going to want to prevent the reuse of usernames, also known as identifiers, for a defined period of time. And then you're also going to want to disable these usernames and identifiers after a defined period of inactivity. So if you just have account where you had an employee where he was terminated or quit, you want to make sure after a period you want to disable his account. Enforce a minimum password complexity, i.e. smart passwords, and then you're going to utilize and enable multi-factor authentication to ensure that user authenticity. Ensure that communications with logon servers are obscure through hashing and encryption. Don't just leave them in plain text on your computer or stored in a file.
For incident response, we kind of talked about this in the DFARS clause, but this is also a significant portion in the NIST SP document. So you're going to want to develop a robust incident response plan to utilize in the event of a cyber attack or other malicious incident. And in doing so, you're going to probably want to gather local, state, media, and DoD contacts to inform of your data breach so that everyone can be aware as soon as possible. Then you're going to want to train employees on the implementation of this incident response plan so that everyone's aware of the steps that they have to take in the event of an incident. And then you should test that incident response plan to identify any kind of weaknesses.
Then for maintenance, you're going to want to ensure that equipment removed off-site is sanitized of any CDI or CUI. So if anything's sent out for any type of maintenance outside your facility, you should always make sure that it's clean of any sensitive type of documents. You're also going to want to require multi-factor authentication to establish non-local maintenance sessions with your MSP if you have an MSP. So if you have a managed service provider, you're going to want to make sure that they have a multi-factor authentication program that they can use. You want to supervise the maintenance performed by maintenance personnel who do not normally have access to your system, and then perform maintenance regularly.
For media protection, you're going to want to protect information system media, both paper and digital, containing CUI. So this may be done through locks and keys, or also through encryption on digital devices. Additionally, you want to sanitize or destroy information system media containing CUI before disposal or release for reuse. Lots of companies will rent their PCs, so you want to make sure that before you return these PCs, or even if you get maintenance done on these PCs to get them back, you want to make sure that all CUI is sanitized in some way. Additionally, you want to mark security attributes, either CUIs, distribution IDs, or whatever, in a human-readable method on documents, computers, electronic devices, containers, etc.
So for personnel security, you're going to want to screen individuals in accordance to applicable federal laws, executive orders, directives, regulation, policy, standards, guidance, and specific criteria prior to authorizing access to your information systems containing CDI or CUI. So this is when you would hire an employee, or you would let a contractor in that needs to do work on your system. You'd want to have some type of screening to ensure if that they don't have a criminal background, or that they're if you handle documentations that have no foreign on it, you want to make sure they're U.S. citizens. Also with that, you're going to want to terminate or disable user accounts after a user has been let go or has quit, as we have mentioned before. Also, you're going to want to, individuals in elevated security roles, they may require additional background screening.
Physical protection is more about the actual protection of the walls of your facility to make sure that no one can come in. So you're going to want to limit access to organizational information systems, so server rooms and other stuff like that, to ensure that only authorized users can enter. So this should be some kind of special key that no one else can use. Additionally, you want to monitor the access of the physical facility through card readers, locks, and guards to ensure that outsiders cannot gain unauthorized access. And one of the reasons that card readers is good is because it also fulfills this third point, maintaining audit logs of physical access. Additionally, you're going to want to escort visitors and monitor their activity. You're going to want to control and manage physical access devices. And if you use any kind of telework or work from home method, such as a VPN, you're going to want to ensure that additional safeguarding methods are in place to make sure that that communication between the server and the host is encrypted and safe.
Okay, then for risk assessment, you're going to want to assess the potential risk and impact levels for your organizational assets and individuals, and this would be something that you would document in your ISSP as to what are your critical systems and what would be the risk if they were to go down. You're also going to want to scan for and remediate vulnerabilities in the information systems and their applications, just to ensure that you can try to catch any vulnerability that can be found, and also that so they're patched or fixed in a reasonable time frame, depending on the severity of the vulnerability.
For security assessment, you're going to want to periodically assess and monitor the security controls for effectiveness in their applications. So this is really what are you doing to become NIST compliant? Are those things effective? And just kind of reviewing this on a regular basis. Then additionally, after you've reviewed it, you want to develop and implement plans of action designed to correct any of these deficiencies and vulnerabilities that you may see.
Then for system communication protection, you're going to want to protect organizational communications at the external boundary and key internal boundaries of the information systems. You're also going to want to outline your organizational information system security policies to include standards for architectural design, software development, and system engineering principles designed to promote information security. So that's going to be something you would document in your information security plan. You're going to want to separate user functionality from information systems management functionality. So again, preventing that malevolent collusion. Prevent unauthorized or unintended information transfer via shared system resources. You're going to also implement cryptographic mechanisms to prevent unauthorized disclosure of CDI or CUI during transmission. And finally, you're going to want to control and monitor the use of voice over internet protocol technologies.
For system and information integrity, you should identify, report, and correct information and information system flaws in a timely manner. You're going to want to update malicious code protection mechanisms, antiviruses, when new releases are available. This can be done automatically. There are ways to set your antivirus to automatically update. You should perform periodic scans of the information system and real-time scans of files from external sources as files are downloaded, opened, or executed. Again, most antivirus systems handle this. You should monitor information system security alerts and advisories and take appropriate actions in response. This is just staying on top of the news and seeing if there are any large threats out there that you need to be notified about. And then you should identify unauthorized use of the information system.
Then right before we recap here, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. So next, focusing on the recap here. So the DFARS 252.204-7012 clause appears on all DoD contracts after October 2016. The deadline for NIST compliance to have your ISSP and POAM set for your compliance is December 31st, 2017. These requirements are also important for growing companies in an increasingly vulnerable cybersecurity world.
Again, to recap some things too, there is no auditing body that's going to come to your place of business and check these as of now. Additionally, the requirement of the December 31st date is having a plan of action with milestones, a POAM, to complete these NIST standards, and additionally, a ISSP information system security plan. So as long as you get these two things kind of under control, then you're technically compliant with the DFARS clause. Generally speaking, it's a lot to take in, and it is a lot of work. Setting up a company to be DFARS compliant takes a lot of time and some budgeting. So it can be complicated. So really developing a POAM suited to your ability as a company to adapt to this standard is really important. Some companies can take this really fast and finish a lot of these controls quickly. I'm sure that many companies already have some of these controls implemented already, such as antivirus. I feel every company should at least have gotten that far. But some other companies may need to take it slower, and so you should take that into account when you are developing your POAM. Okay, so we got one question, and the one question is, am I able to use my Office 365 cloud-based mail server and still remain NIST compliant? We actually did a bit of research on that recently and found that Office 365 is actually compliant with NIST, and we believe that you can still remain in compliance with Office 365. Okay, no more questions. So, yeah.
Okay.
So what we've done is, we as a company at Global SFC, we have struggled in some ways to understand, make sense of this document, make sense of these requirements because of how convoluted they are and vague in some regards. And so what we've done is created an app that we plan on selling that essentially creates a POAM for companies once you fill in the information. So it kind of simplifies everything. It makes the whole process a bit easier and easier to understand. And so we're hoping to put this out for sale sometime by next week. Can I have presentation? Thanks. Okay. All right, so here's our app that we've created. So this is a little splash screen. When you click here, you can see that there's a dashboard, and the controls for the NIST document are located here. So these are the categories that we just went through. If you click on one of these, it brings up each of the different controls. And if you click on one of these, it brings more information about that control into this box over here on the right. So if you read this one, for the first control, it's account management. Limit information system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users, or devices, including other information systems. If you click on control recommendation, it shows which parties should be implementing this control and really what the control means. Maintain a list of authorized users defining their identity and associated role in sync with the system, application, and data layers. Account requests must be authorized before access is granted. We've included some helpful hints in here as to comply with this specific control. So if you click on that, this takes you to a Microsoft help document as to how to generate a list of users using Microsoft Server. Depending on your own internal network structure, this might not work for you, but we wanted to provide some additional information. Additionally, Here is the supplementary guidance from the 53, the federal level NIST document. So this kind of further explains really what this control means. So this goes into a lot more detail. This is why this 53 document is almost 500 pages long, because they do provide a lot more information when they talk about their controls. Additionally, here are some mappings to the 53 document. And if we click on one of those, it takes us to the page. Here's the access control account or control family from the 53 document. And again, it has some additional supplementary guidance. So we think that this is a very nice way to navigate through the different controls, through the different supplementary guidances from the 53 document. Additionally, as a company, you can come in here and audit your own status with regards to this control. So here we can come in here and set ourselves as partially compliant. This changes this flag, which changes some reports that we've developed. We're going to set it as compliant for now. If we click on compliance, we can write a small little blurb about how our company is compliant. So for here, a list of users has been generated and is located at this file location. We can set a completion date for this, and that will also be used in a report. For remedial action, if you're partially compliant or non-compliant, you can enter your planned method that you're going to use to become compliant. This will be used in the POAM. So we must develop and maintain a user list, and we set a planned completion date. If we go to the dashboard now, we can get a good overview of how we are with all 109 different controls. If we click on total control statistics, you can see that we have 10 compliant. We have 9 from access control and 1 from audit and accountability. Some of these haven't been filled out yet. Your company will have to come through here and determine each individual control and how your company has become compliant with that. However, when it's all filled out, you get a very good bird's eye view of how your compliance is going. You also get a category progress bar. So here we are 10 out of 109 controls completed, 9 out of 22 for this first control family, and 1 out of 9 for this third one. Additionally, we've also provided this POAM calendar. As you can see here, these yellow ones are planned implementation dates, and these green ones are actually completion dates. So we can use these as a way to basically develop a POAM over time. And what we hope to do is eventually add in these remedial actions into a more formal POAM document so that it automatically generates planned due dates and remedial actions in a more professional looking format. So if an auditor comes by and they need any kind of information, you can provide that to them quickly and easily. Additionally, down here, we also have terms and definitions. So these are just some definitions to some terms that are that may be confusing if you're not familiar with them, that are located in the NIST documents. Additionally, we've also provided document templates. As you may remember, one of the main ways to become NIST compliant is to have an ISSP. So what we've done here is we've provided a template document that has all kinds of information in here that you can customize to your own company's needs. If you scroll down here, we have executive summaries, system inventories, etc., etc. So this is a very broad document, but you as a company can come in here and edit these to your needs so that you can make it your own, and this can turn into your own information system security plan. Additionally, we've also included an inventory management template, which you can use to manage your devices, servers, laptops, etc., etc. Overall, that's the app, and we think it makes it very easy to organize and determine your company's NIST status and generate a POAM as well. Like I said, we hope to get this out sometime next week, and what we're going to do is send out an email with more information to all people who have attended this webinar. So you will be getting some information about this app shortly. Oh, I shouldn't give it to you.
Okay.
That concludes our presentation about NIST and the DFARS requirement. If you have any more questions, please write them in chat. We're going to take a couple more, if anyone has any. All right, doesn't look like there's any more questions. Thank you everybody for attending. We hope to do more of these soon with regards to general training and some more DFARS and NIST requirements. We think this is a good way to kind of share our information that we've learned over the past year with regards to this requirement. We're by no means experts in this field, but we have done our fair amount of research. And we try to flow that information down to as many people as possible because we really feel that this is some important stuff to know about this requirement, because when we first started getting into it, everything is so vague, everything is very confusing. So really we're here to help any of our vendors in becoming compliant, and we're willing to, lend a hand.
We did get another question here.
Yeah, I think. If we are in compliance with ITAR and NIST POM technology control plans, do we also need to comply with this requirement? There may be some overlap, and I haven't done enough research into those two control plans myself to determine that. There are some specifics within the NIST document, such as incident response, which seems unique. I've never seen that in another control plan. I would have to do more research into the ITAR and NIST POM technology control plans to really find out about that. But what we would recommend is, we would have to develop some kind of cross-reference between the different requirements to really determine if there was also some compliance there. So, yeah, NIST in itself is kind of its own special beast, and it has to be tackled as a NIST cybersecurity requirement.
Yes, it's also important to note that in the NIST document, there is a mapping, in the 171 document, there is a mapping to the larger 853 document, but there's also some mapping to ISO 27001. Now, it's also important to note with that the ISO does not fully cover all the controls that the NIST 171 covers. So that is so far the only documents that we've seen that have been mapped to NIST. So it is tough to say whether or not they meet those requirements in full.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no more questions, again, want to thank everyone for coming. We're always available if anyone has any additional questions, comments, or concerns. So feel free to send either Sam or myself an email, and we'll provide those in a follow-up. Additionally, we've also recorded these sessions, and we will hand out the recording as well as the PowerPoint that we used shortly, probably sometime later this week. So that'll be available soon if you ever need that.
Yes. Also, one thing before we end this, we also developed a small business questionnaire. It was a questionnaire designed and geared to smaller businesses, but this is really applicable to even mid and large size companies. But it's just to sort of give a general feel. And this is if anybody would like, they can fill this out, send it in to us, and we'll try to give some sort of simple feedback on that, and some simple recommendations to try to help meet or fill in those gaps?
Yeah, I think one of the real big challenges that we've run into while delving into this requirement is just the way that it's all set up is that there's a flow down completely all the way down the supply chain. And in reality, the further you get down the supply chain, the less technologically advanced some of these companies are. So we're dealing with companies with maybe 1, 2 laptops max. So, the challenge really comes in how do we get these people compliant? How do we get these people up to speed? And so we're trying to provide some kind of common ground here because these people don't have any kind of IT teams to help them, or they just basically have, a Wi-Fi connection and a couple laptops. So this is kind of what we're doing to try to bridge that, to help them develop a POAM, to help them develop their own information system security plans, even if it's for a small company like theirs. Okay, Sam, do you have anything else to say?
Nope, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you everyone for coming. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email. Thanks everyone.